Hi, welcome to the Bloom Show. This is Sahid with New Bloom Solutions, and the Bloom Show is sponsored by New Bloom Solutions and Above All Flowers. Thank you for being here today with our audience, and thank you in advance to Mark Dubner of Stellar Bouquet and Stellar Farms for joining us. A backstory of Mark Dubner: for about 8 years, he was my boss and my mentor within Esmeralda Farms, and it was a good experience to learn with them. And now it's my honor to actually interview him. So really looking forward to him. I consider him the supermarket whisperer. We will learn why today, but I've seen him accomplish many goals and build many business goals, like you could say, and achieve many business goals working with supermarkets. So it's always amazing to see the work that he's done in the mass market industry. And the purpose of this show is truly to help the floral industry innovate, connect, and bloom through community, learning about each other, sharing throughout all sectors. And a big part of that is your interaction by commenting, asking questions, and maybe even saying hello or some old jokes or whatever you want to do, but feel free to interact with us for sure. I do want to mention, if you like this show, the Bloom Show, please feel free to subscribe, like, or press the little alert key. So without further ado, help me welcome Mark Dubner onto the show. Mr. Mark, how are you, sir?
Hey, Sahid, how you doing?
How you doing? It's not like we just spoke 2 minutes ago, but
it feels
nice to see you. Nice to see you. So, Mark, thank you again for being here, being my, when I first walked into Esmeralda, you interviewed me. So it is awesome to have you here, kind of go around and not full circle, but some circle, and get to a point where now I get to pick your brain live on TV or YouTube TV. So thank you for the opportunity, Mark.
Oh, you're welcome for the opportunity when you were spritzing people with perfume and Macy's or whatever you were doing when I interviewed you, or today. What are we talking about?
I was not spritzing perfume. I was selling purses. So if that is out there in the world, I was working for Hermes, a high-end purse company, and I was selling purses. And you picked on me with that for a long time. So thank you for bringing it up.
That's one. I have a list, but we're good.
I'm glad to know that we just started. We began where we started, right? Where we ended. So it's the same way as it always been. But thank you. So Mark, let's jump into it. Tell us a little bit about Mr. Mark Dubner today, as it is. What's been your journey into the flower industry? And it's a really cool journey because you went from one place straight into the flower industry. So tell us about that a little bit.
So, well, my story is I was at the University of Miami in 1990, and I was graduating, and I had a buddy whose sister worked at Condor Farms, which was what the original Esmeralda was. And my friend's mother went and asked him, "Hey, so what's your friend Mark going to do when he graduates?" And so he came and asked me. I go, I don't know. I guess move home with my parents. I had no plan. I was graduating in 6 weeks and I had no plan. So she then said, "Oh, you should have him talk to Trish," which was his sister. She was like she ran the farm part of it for Mr. Ulrich. She was one of the main managers. So I went and interviewed when I still had like a month and a half left in school, and I offered nothing. I was a marketing major and had never worked a day in my life. And they hired me and said, "When can you start?" So I said, "I can start, when I graduate. I want to go home for a week to do nothing, and then I'll come back." So it was 6 weeks after I was hired before I started. And when I showed up at work, I was staying in a friend's apartment. I didn't have a permanent place to live yet because I just graduated, and put on a suit and tie because that's what we did then, and had a friend tie the tie for me because I didn't know how to do it. Woke up at that god-awful hour. I'd never been up that early in my life, and showed up at the office at 6:30, and I go to open the door, and it's locked. And I stood there and I said, I guess people that work show up at the exact time they're supposed to be there. I had no idea. So I went and I had something to eat and came back at 7 and go and try the door again, and still locked. It's a problem. I look through the glass, they have the tinted glass, and I look in and I see like it's empty. There's wires on the floor. There's a desk missing. Everything's gone. I had interviewed there 6 weeks ago. I go, oh my God, the company, it's closed. And I'm going to have to go back and move in with my parents. I don't know what I'm going to do here. So I went to the gas station to call, because again, pre-cell phone, pre-anything. Call the number, just rings, because of course they're out of business in my mind. So I actually went back to the apartment. I went back to sleep. I was exhausted, never been up at that time. And I called again around 9, I guess I woke up. And called the manager, and I said, hey, it's Mark Dubner. She goes, oh, it's Sharon Perez. And she goes, oh, I go, hello, how are you? She goes, oh, I'm good. I go, Sharon, where are you? And it turns out that was the day they moved into that building that you worked in. Yep. That was the first. Yep, it was the first day in that building. So my first day was May 21st, 1990. My first day there was the first day that building opened. And then, and I sat there, I was sales rep guy, learning all that I could. And over time,
How many years were you a sales rep for, Mark?
I was a sales rep until, I guess it was probably 7 years.
Okay.
Until I became Kelly's assistant manager, which meant I was, doing the sales floor. Mm-hmm. And then, look, we went through USA Floral. There was a lot of things that have changed throughout, but in, I guess 2002, if I remember correctly, Kelly left, and then I was sole sales guy. So this is
sole sales guy.
Well, I was in charge of the sales. They never told me, listen, that's I was never put in charge of sales. You just had to do it. That's how things would work there.
If you wanted to make ends meet, right, or keep the
exactly. So yeah, that was my deal with that, and I did that until I don't know if where we slip into this, because this is part of your the supermarket thing, but I was there until 2008. You were there, right? When I left.
Yes.
Correct.
But you were still there, though.
Well, yes, I was there, but I left, right? Yeah. So the story there, which of course was told, 2008, the business got impossible. Not just this business, everything. I sure as heck hope we're not headed towards something like that now. There's some scariness to it. But all of a sudden we were selling 30-40% less, and I'm sure we'll talk a lot about Peter Ulrich here, and he was my mentor, my hero, wonderful man, but he wasn't easy. And he wasn't sitting well with 30-40% sales loss. And it got really difficult, and became difficult. It was frustrating for him, frustrating for me. And it got to the point that I went up and I told him, it was probably the scariest day of my life, because I had, again, no plan, right? No different than 22-year-old me. But I knew it wasn't working, and I know he wasn't happy. And I wasn't being told what to do. You know what I mean? So I wanted to head it off at the pass. And I said, look, you're not happy. I'm not happy. What are we going to do here? How's this going to work? And one of the real times where because he had this way, where when the worst thing and he's telling you something horrible, in the end, he's giving you the biggest compliment, right? So he said to me, he goes, yeah, you're not going to, I did no disrespect when I talk about him and what he says, I put the little bit of accent. It is not disrespectful in any way. So it just, the way it comes out. And he gives me that, yes, that's the word. And he told me, he goes, Mark, yeah, you're not going to do that anymore, but you can sell stuff. You tell me what you want to do. I'll be back in a month. Write it down, put down a plan, and we go from there. So, I go, okay, so I can do something here, which was my home with the, again, man, I love the whole thing, right? So, and so I went back and I go, we did not have a lot of supermarket business at the time. We had a couple of customers. We had two people that were selling from home, doing supermarket. We had a little bit in the office, and it had been his real goal, wisely as usual, to expand the supermarket business. And so I go, well, maybe that's what I want to do. You know, my kids were little in elementary school, and I go, well, these people are doing it. You know, we had other people selling from home. Terry Smith selling from home. Tinsy was dealing with Publix. I go, I'm going to do that. So I went up to him and I said, well, this is what I'd like to do. Let me go. I'm going to sell from home, be an independent rep selling supermarkets. That's what you want. That's what I can do. We'll work out a commission deal. I want this. And I gave all these things of how long I wanted to be able to do it. I want a salary for this long. I would like you to pay for my travel for that long, insurance for that long. And he cut every one of those things in half. And for my own good, he said, if I give you a year, Mark, I mean, you're going to take a year. I give you 6 months. You get it done in 6 months. Okay. And he was right, as usual. And I, went with no customers to build a supermarket base. And I know go ahead.
No, you were about to say, but had you ever worked in supermarkets before?
No, only that, look, I was the whatever, VP sales, whatever you want to call that position. So I had given presentations. I was in charge of the people that were selling them, but I had never sold a supermarket. Okay. And what's interesting, again, all this segues into the stuff I know we're here to talk about. It's part of what makes you go, wow, he really knows supermarket. And I know this because I was very lucky and very successful doing that in the time I did it. And it was like, wow, look at this. And a lot of it, the reason I was successful was my own shortcomings from before I was home doing it, if that makes sense. We had a program of consumer bunches and bouquets. And I always looked at it as the grower, well, delphinium costs this. So 4 stems of delphinium, we get 50 cents a stem. So it's $2, whatever the number, the math would come to. And then another item was another price and another bouquet. So we had a list of a bunch of stuff all over the place. And I learned very quickly as I'm going to stores and seeing no, the stores, it doesn't matter it matters what it costs the grower. And that's a part of the equation. But what matters is what they can sell it for and what they can pay for. Because they, unlike me, they had margins that were absolute. They don't get to pick. It wasn't even, they don't get to go, if I make 18 to 22, it didn't matter. The supermarket doubles their money. That's their math. Okay. In general, supermarkets that are buying from Miami that aren't getting store door deliveries, there are other variables, but in general, that's your math. So if that's the math and they want to sell stuff for $2 or $4, let's say, right? 3 for 12 program CBs, they got to pay $2 and they can pay $2. So you don't need to be $1, but you can't be 3. So since we were a farm that had so many different items, which was always the strength, and all these novelty products, all the summer flowers, wasn't just all palms, carns, and minis. Mm-hmm. So we went and go, all right, well, what can we land here? What can we sell at what is basically with the CBs? If you want to get $2 from them, you got to land it at $1.80 because you got to land it at their store. This math hasn't changed a whole lot, by the way. This general formula is basically how it has to work. Mm-hmm. But I didn't understand that in the other seat, but I got to learn it real quick going out and visiting people. So we took that program and said, all right, well, we can give 4 stems of yarrow or 5 stems of yarrow at that because we're always selling yarrow at 30 cents. So if I can, 120, I can get 180. We're always at 120. We can do that. So of course, Peter Ulrich, when I showed him the program, he goes, yeah, we'll take a stem of this out and raise the, we had some play to it. But in the end, it became it became what we were known. And still, that was how the Esmeralda CB program really took off. But for me, it was new. And we only sold 4 or 5 stores. So I had the world to go get. And, you cold call, you reached out. I had one of my good friends, knew somebody who was somewhat, you work around it and got on the plane and shipped boxes and held bunches up and look what you're carrying and look what I can do and look at the price and we're different and all the the Esmeralda sales pitch that it was, you know, and it was very successful. And that's really what you can't look at things from your perspective, because that's what we all do everywhere in life. You have to look at it from other perspectives. And that little hiccup, right? I mean, it seems like, oh my God, like he basically threw you out, didn't he? Not really. Like we just went a different direction. So I was looking at it from another side, and it made it stronger. I still use a lot of those principles here today at Stellar Bouquet.
And that was one of my questions. What's your secret sauce to doing what you did? Because I remember that's not an easy feat. So I guess one of the secret sauces, you could say, or an ingredient to the secret sauce, is looking at the other shoe.
Yes, that is, right. I mean, secret, but yeah, that is what you have to do. It's no different than managing, right? When you're managing people, you can't look at it like, well, why don't they see if they work more hours that will be more productive? Because your sales guy you're managing, he's thinking about something else. You always have to look at both sides. And often, and as someone who worked with me in that capacity, you make sure they understand, you know that, but you still need this. Like just understanding all of it is really helpful. It's sales management.
So I know a lot of the viewers that used to be a sales rep for you are going to laugh at this, like not showing up 1 minute after 7 to our meeting, correct?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, the time, because if you showed up after 7, the door was locked and I acted like I didn't hear you. You know, that whole...
At least it made everybody... I'm on time everywhere I go now. So thank you for
one of the things I am told most, and I am sure you said it to me. And I don't know, I got to watch the language. I don't want to offend anyone, but like I get all the time now, like, you know, we just did a show and everyone walking around, they go, yeah, hired that person, brought this one into the industry. We have a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
But the one thing I'm told the most is, you know, you were a real pain in the neck. There are lots of other words to that, but wow, I learned everything and I get it now. Like that's I understand. I may not have liked it, but I understand. And that piece, that bringing people along, which the leadership piece, there's management and there's leadership, but where the structure, right? German guy, this is how we do it. And having that very rigid structure was really good for Esmeralda. And no one is like that I am not that now all the time. And I fight that. Like I get here to the office now, 7:05, 7:15. It drives me nuts every day.
You're late to your own job?
Well, here's the thing.
Oh man, I'm not even hearing this.
Here's the problem. See, I work with my wife.
Okay.
And she's not necessarily ready at the same time as I am. And I'm only so willing in the morning to go, babe, like, you know, because it doesn't matter. And the inventory's not ready yet and all the other things. So, yeah, I've loosened a little on that, but the anxiety still stays.
Yeah, same here. I have to be on the right time. So at the right time, at the right place, and on time. But so a question for you, and thank you for talking about Oregon. And one thing I learned was innovation. When I walked in there, we were ahead of the game. We had Zoom before Zoom was a thing. I don't know if you remember.
I remember.
We were doing pitches on a camera to our customer.
Yep.
12 years ago or more, even before I got married. So 12 years ago, 10 years, 13 years ago, which is an amazing feat. E-commerce was there too. So
we had e-commerce in 2007. It wasn't even a thing.
It wasn't even a thing. It was one of the first companies. So innovation-wise, the influence for me has been incredible because you saw what a great company as Esmeralda, what they've done, but it was because he was an innovator. Now, my question to you is, what's one thing, if you could nail it down, I know it's a hard question, that with Peter Orrick and learning from Peter Orrick for so many years, growing up with Peter Orrick, right? What is one thing you could say, like, holy, what I learned from him?
You talk about innovation, he was willing to take risks.
Mm-hmm.
He took enormous risks then they didn't always work. He was often so far ahead of his time. We had micro palms before anyone had anything. The spray road, like, so he was always so far. The risk taking was absolutely something learned. But probably say an actual, oh my God, moment. I think I don't have a specific, but it's more the over time. The way the story I just told about going up there and him saying, nah, he was a very hard man, but he had the right soft spot for the right things. Until the end, he always had that, he had his people. He was a leader. You were in the team, you were his people, and he took care of his people. So, but like I say, and he, working with him like that taught me, again, that when the things are the hardest is when you learn the most, right? I got on the street to sell. You got to create $5 million worth of business. You do it. We sold Stop and Shop back in the day, right? And they had a buyer, Sandra Herring, and he argued about some bouquet we had. It was big. We sold them like $2 million worth of this thing a year, and it was mixed flowers. And, he wanted 50 cents more, and she said no, and they canceled it. And he kept saying, they'll come back. It's all his decision. But every day you're looking at the numbers, they're off because you're not selling these bouquets. And in the beginning, it was all, he goes, hey, Mark, why are the numbers? Remember, you gave back the bouquet. He did, right? Not me, in my mind. Well, that lasted for about 3 weeks before he goes, how long are you going to use that excuse? When are you going to sell them to someone else? And that's when we expanded another piece of the business because it was out of necessity. I mean, that's nothing, what doesn't kill you make you stronger. All of those, I never lose, I learn. Every time there has been one of these challenges, Stellar, the end of my career at Esmeralda, right? Where I'm done one thing in one place my whole life. And you don't get to do that anymore. Yeah. Okay, what do we do? Well, I'm here and it's awesome because I fight through it.
So tell us, so one thing I see is that he challenged you. And from that, you just got better and better. Now you say, I'm here. Tell us about Stellar. Tell us about this experience now and how did it start and what tell us all about stuff.
Well, it started, I got to find something to do. I've never had another interview other than that one I talked about in 1990, right? But I had some friends who had started a company selling to wholesalers, to a few guys, right? And they're brokering product. One of the partners is an Ecuadorian rose farm, a big one with big-headed, super high quality. Alcavat is the name which also sells direct to people. And he's, one of our partners, and these guys are like, this is what we're going to do. And I'm like, well, I like this. This seems more laid back and looking for something different and super high quality rose farm. I think I can help. And hey, can I start a company selling supermarkets while we're doing this too? Sure. Once you get your feet wet. Now this is December 2019. So it all sounded like a great idea. And then 3 months later, the world ended. But truth is, that was the best thing that could have happened to a company like us. We are 6 times, I did in the end open that bouquet piece because opportunities arose with COVID. Farms stopped planning. It got difficult to move things around. We were here. I had been working on this. I was able to fill holes for people. So all of a sudden you're needed, whereas might not have really been needed. It's a terrible thing and people died and it affected the world tremendously. It was the best thing that happened to, I think, the industry in general. Weeded out a lot of things. But certainly the best thing that happened to Stellar Farms and Stellar Bouquet gave us still happening. Anything that makes things difficult all around is good for us. If that makes sense.
It puts pressure.
Yeah, we're small and nimble and we have a real logistics advantage. So we're able to move around. I have stuff when no one else has things. So it's been good. It's really good. It's all new too. It's similar to what I said in 2008. It's all just open virgin territory, except I know a little more now.
A lot more, but so what is Stellar Farms versus Stellar Bouquets? It's pretty obvious, but the Stellar Farms own its own farm. What's the details you can give?
Stellar Farms is a company we sell to wholesale florists and some retail florists.
Okay.
And we have, again, one of our partners, Alberto, who owns Alcavat. So we have a leg up there. And then we have other partner farms that we do a lot of business with that we do some, we call it contract or whatever. We commit to certain amounts of product, and we bring that in for wholesale. And then Stellar Bouquet is me, along with some other people I used to work with, right? We mentioned Amy Curlin, who was at Esmeralda for as long as me. And I've got Sam Marcus, who sold supermarkets for a very long time. And we're here plugging away, going at the supermarket business, which it's never easy, but there's been a lot of consolidation, and that has created opportunity. People are afraid of consolidation. I think it's great. Leaves more openings.
It can be. So you had mentioned 2008 a few times. How did you feel that the experience of 2008 versus 2020? What was the difference there?
Well, 2008, business in general stopped. I mean, we had some other factors there with the housing market, and that was really difficult. 2020 was different because there was still interest and the supply had diminished so much. Farms had to make decisions. I mean, I'm sure you've talked about this with other people. Not that I don't watch everyone, Sahid, but I'm sure it's been brought up. So there's less product being grown, and farms had to make decisions, and they cut back, and workers, and all of this made for more opportunity. I don't think there was more opportunity in 2008. I think we were waiting to see for things to weed out maybe, and COVID did that within the business. It changed a lot, but again, it's made for a lot of real opportunity.
And those opportunities, you just have to find them or look for them, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, people are interested. There are less with the large companies buying up a lot of farms. Most people don't want to buy from one or two guys. So you can be that other guy, that fill-in that's creating a look that I am familiar with, that's using the same principles that were used to start the other program. So I'm using a lot of the same things. And like I said, we have farms that we committed to, and it's easy. Like I said, we're just much more nimble. We're able to adjust. We're interested in the 50 box a week bouquet order. Like, I want that. Whereas before I'm like, yeah, but that's it. So you want that. You can service the heck out of people. You not that we didn't care, but you can give it more personal attention. How's that?
Exactly. Let me take, and thank you for that. Let me take a couple questions and some old comments here. So David Kaplan, as you know, my business partner, he says he still is. So that means I'm still spritzing people with perfume and still selling perfume. He was chopping or busting my chops as well. Mike Black, I believe, Mike B says hashtag rockstar. Mike Black's a rock star in its own. And then I have a question from Kat. How is the current strike influencing Stellar, and whereas your roots are Ecuadorian for product? That I don't understand, but
no, I got it. I think I can understand. How has it affected us? We've been pretty lucky that I haven't had a lot of delays. The problem really depends on where the farms are. We sell a lot of stock at Stellar Farms, and the stock farms are all in the south where it's been difficult. So I've had delays there. But in the overall, we've gotten the product here, and the market has been, pricing is good because there's less product, and I've had a pretty full inventory, again, outside of one or two items. So it's actually been helpful. I have been concerned that if this continues to go on, we're not going to be immune from it forever. But again, we have a full cooler full of product, and people want it. Look, we should be selling nothing this week. This is the worst week of the year historically, week before 4th of July. And there's expensive product. We have a cooler full. We had a huge day today and yesterday. So opportunity, this is exactly what happens when things are difficult. when you're able to be nimble.
And you heard a rumor just when we were talking that it ended today, but I'm not sure if that's.
I don't know.
Yeah. Mike, if you're there, you can maybe give us a heads up. And we interviewed and they said they would be done by today or tomorrow. So let's see, let's hope. Terry Smith, as you know, Miss Terry, is saying, hi, Mark. Hi, Sahid. Hi, Terry. How are you? And then we have another question was, with inflation and freight prices rising, how do you see price points changing to mass market?
I think they are going to have to change, and it's already happened. One of the things that's happened with bouquets, it's easy because you just take out stems. Every occasion bouquet that was 14 stems is now 12. Just like they did to my ice cream and the milk. Like they shrink the package, right? My ice cream. They change the packaging. They make everything smaller. So that's happened with bouquets. With consumer bunch, it's a little tougher because the 4-stem sunflower maybe can go to 3, but it can't go to 2. So but everything in the stores are more expensive. Hasn't happened completely, but I think the 3 for $10 programs are probably near extinct or will be because you can't afford to get anything here using the formulas I said that make any sense. And the supermarkets aren't going to make less margin. It's going to have to come from price because, yes, all of our costs have gone up. The cost of the freight is 80% higher now than when I left. I mean, it's insane. Numbers that we never would have fathomed. Look, the fertilizer, all the farm, I still look at it like the farm, right? Because I was
the farm
guy. All the costs, the cost of a rose is 8 cents higher than it is. And the cost to get it here is 12 cents higher. 20 cents a stem in cost in Miami is a lot of money.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't land a rose here. Our standing order price, Sahid, at Esmeralda was, I don't know, what was it, 48, 53 cents, something like that. Can't land a rose here at that.
45 cents, yeah.
Can't land a rose here, any rose. I mean, not because I don't, but you can't grow one and pay the freight. So it's changed. That's what the 4 people watching are like the people that used to work with us and David Kaplan.
we actually have 17 people watching. So I correct you, Mark.
All right. But, are they all? Do they all work at Jet Fresh that Mike made them?
Maybe, but Mike says that there's another phone, but sadly it's not over. So
yeah,
thank you, Mike.
Hey, you wanted to own a farm, Mike.
Yeah, he did. In a good format too. So let me see if I have another question for you here. So I see something which it means a lot to me is we don't just ship products from our farms. We're an integral part of the production, growing process, and distribution. What it seems to me is that you're basically saying that you become a partner for your customer. So tell us the importance of that and how do you really follow through with that?
At farm level, you mean like becoming especially now, like I've talked about, and that was written in the website before COVID, but now all the farms are petrified because of all the consolidation. Mm-hmm. There's going to be no one left to sell to. Who can I partner with that I can continue to sell my product because, I'm just a small guy. And we've been able, look, I throw around the understand what I used to do a lot with farms. I get it. I look at it from your side. I understand. You be fair with the farms. It's not about trying to get every nickel you can. You just try and make it work for everybody.
Yep.
And giving them commitments. When we always, again, say you're there. It was always about standing orders. And the reason it was about standing orders wasn't because, you get more money, they're more expensive or any of the, you could plan production. That was always the reason. If you know you have a certain amount sold and you're making something on it, you can operate. And that's what we offer to farms. So, and we pick through them. The whole pay your bills. How many times you hear people say that? You try and do right by them to help their business. No different than what we talked about selling, because you have to look at it from their side. Always. Don't worry about what you need. Worry about what they need and how you can fill that need.
And I think it's all that relationship and understanding and putting yourself in the other shoe. Even if you're selling something or you're buying something, it's that relationship of kind of do unto others as you'd like them to do unto you. In a way, it's looking out for everybody and all parties involved. I agree with that. So we have some.
I will tell you one other thing. It doesn't hurt that the farm that we're buying the most from, our biggest partner, especially with Bouquet, ran the farm I worked with for a long time. Two of them.
So
You know, you work with the people you worked with before.
So we have for Coconut Groove. We know who
Oh,
Coconut
geez.
Groove is. It's saying popcorn. So that's an inside joke, I imagine, or he's watching.
Nah, this is
popcorn.
Travieso.
So
Travieso's sitting there watching. That's
I
it.
hope that this is the start to busting a little chops. But then we have Dolores that says, no, some new viewers. So she's saying that she's a new viewer. Thank you, Dolores,
nice.
for viewing. Then she says, LOL. And then we have
Willie.
the man, the midget, the legend, one of my biggest mentors. Thank you, Willie. That means a lot to me, Willie. Thank you, Willie. I appreciate that. He means Mark. He means Mark. Go ahead, Mark.
Is Willie talking about size or like, I don't know, man.
I don't think Willie's talking
Would be
about
a shot.
size. I really don't think Willie's talking about size, but he considers you one of his mentors. Thanks for chiming in, Mr. Willie. If you want to say any stories, that would be great. And Sahid, why is your top button? Okay, so my top button because I feel more comfortable like this. So this is my style. Now, you know, in the glasses, so it gives me that geek look. So I'm working hard with the geek look. This is all thought out. But thank you for asking that question.
I chose my wardrobe today as well. See, I got the Superman going. So
the Superman. So let's have a little fun while we're having some fun. I'm going to ask you some quick questions.
Wait, this is fun?
I call this fun. I'm having fun. You're not having fun. I'm having fun.
I'm having fun. Sahid,
what's up?
Sahid, we're not going to do this. Let's talk about, it's coming, right? Let's talk about the time that you, Sam, let's talk about the time you wouldn't get out of your car because it was raining.
All right, do you want the real story or you want your story?
My story.
Your story, okay. So we'll let people question that story. You know, that's
well,
you've reiterated and had different forms of that story for many years, but we'll allow you to share the story.
So Sahid comes back from lunch, phone call. It calls Amy Hernandez, who was the manager at the time.
It was 6:30 or 6:45 in the morning because I was going to make it.
I think you were coming back from lunch.
I'll let you say your story. Go ahead.
6:45 in the morning makes the story more fun. So it's raining, and he calls, and he calls in. He goes, "Hey, what should I do?" She goes, "What do you mean? What should I do?" Well, it's raining. So what do you mean? Oh, well, I don't want to get wet. So Amy comes in the office. She goes, Sahid wants to know what he should do because it's raining. What did I'm sure the language I used was not nice, but something like get your ass in the building.
Yes.
But what's the real story? Well, you got a canoe. Where we going?
The real story is that we had flood issues in the parking lot. One. Oh, yeah. Second issue, I had a torn ACL 6 months ago and a messed up ankle, so I had to run in, and I was afraid of slipping and falling. Okay,
you had to run.
I was looking out for you. It was monsooning. It was storming.
Fortunately, you didn't melt.
So you said that story to all your employees a few times because every time I would meet a new employee, they knew exactly who I was. So thank you for spreading the word.
No problem.
So we have a couple of funny. Oh, Willie. Okay, this is another one. All right, Willie. Sorry, it's called shrink wrap. Yes, I was the butt of many jokes sometimes, which I deserve because I would also do the same, and it was always about having fun and joking around and keeping things lighthearted. But one time I walk out, I have a car the size of an M&M. I walk out, and everybody decided to shrink wrap my car, and I was in a hurry to get to a real estate meeting, or I was passing on my
real estate meeting.
Yes. No, passing on my house or something. And I was on my way to meet somebody, and I had to cut my way through all of this wrap. And Willie, I'll talk about this one when you moved my car. They picked up my car between like 5 guys and shimmied it to the side.
Those are things I would always have nothing to do with it. I didn't know anything about it.
No, he did not have cameras in his office and was not cackling all the way. But whatsoever. All right. Anything else, Mark? Any embarrassing moments you want to bring up?
There are other stories, but not for public consumption. So we're good.
All right, cool. And then now let's have a little bit more fun here. Favorite food?
All of it. Look at me.
Favorite football team?
I'm still Philly guy. My Eagles.
Cat, dog, or plants?
Oh, dogs, multiple dogs.
Favorite song?
What was that?
Favorite song?
Oh my goodness. I don't know. I went to see Molly Crew with my daughter this weekend, but I guess that doesn't fit. A big Springsteen fan though.
Favorite flower?
The one that sells.
Wholesale or mass market?
That's a tough one, my friend.
Come on, we're waiting.
I'm gonna say mass market.
All right. Standing orders or pre-books?
Oh, standing orders all day.
All day.
All day.
I just thought it would be funny. I had another one here. Hey, Willie, do you have one? And then we have Santiago Martinez cracking. Oh, Santi. Nice to see Santi, man. Look at that. That's a new viewer for sure. You brought him. He's not here for me. He's here for you.
Look at that headshot he's got, man. I'm gonna have to see your guy.
He's a good-looking guy. And then we have Wholesale Baby, Mr. Willie Colon say.
Willie right now is recording this, telling any customer we have in common, look, he doesn't even like your kind of business. He doesn't even want your business. Strategy.
So, Mark, man, honestly, it's a pleasure to hang out with you. It was fun for me. I hope it was fun for me. It was for you, and not any torture. But thank you really to hanging out and being so open and sharing. And it's really cool to see where you're at now and just hang out. It felt like we were just hanging out. Oh, and his wife. So Mary's there too.
Oh, I thought you meant my wife. I'm like, no, I didn't tell her about this.
You didn't. But again, Mark, thank you so much for joining, man. I know we didn't go through all the questions, but we did about 40 minutes, so I don't want to take up too much of your time or too much of the viewers' time. But thank you again, Mark. Truly appreciate it. You are a busy man.
All right, brother. I appreciate it. Thanks to the 3 people that listened.
Yeah, more than 3, Mark. Take care.
17.
Have a good one. No, it got up there. Later, Mark. Take care, brother.
All right, brother. Thanks.
Bye-bye. So again, it was a lot of fun to talk to Mark. I hope everybody got a good chuckle out of our interactions. That's basically an insight of how we used to work as well. So it was always a pleasure. We learned a lot from Esmeralda, learned a lot from Mark and everybody around us. And it was a true inspiration for me in understanding the value of innovation and the value of structure. As Mark said, there was a lot of structure at Esmeralda, which we took with us, and I took with me when I went to other companies as well. So it was a great experience, truly a great experience to interview Mark. So thank you everybody and the viewers for chiming in. I have another comment, so you could still add your comments here. They're a lot of fun. Sam Marcus says great job to Mark. Thank you, Sam. Appreciate that. I do want to take a moment to announce that on July 12th, we're going to have Marco Groot from Verde de Boer. And we're also going to have on July 26th, Adam Campbell from Produce News. And it's cool. I like to bring in new people to the industry that actually make a difference, or not actually make a difference, but make a difference, or they're the hidden heroes in the sense. And Adam's the guy you see going around and taking pictures of people at the conventions, but he also helps run Produce News. So I'm excited to bring him on and give his story, to share his story. And Marco Group, we all know him, personal friend of mine, and also great supporter. So I'm excited to bring him on. So please, if you liked the show and you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe so you could tune in more often and press the little alert button so that we don't only have 3 viewers and it becomes much more than just three viewers. Thank you again for your time, and I hope that you enjoyed and hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.